Hi, good morning, Niners. This time we are going to have your writing task 2. Specifically, the question type, do you agree or disagree? And to what extent do you agree or disagree? So let's begin with how you are being given the score by your examiner. So as you know, there are two tasks in the writing subtests. You have your report writing for the line graph or bar graph or pie chart, table, map, or a process. And the other task is writing an essay, which is our topic for this morning. So let's begin with your task achievement. The task achievement is the most crucial criterion because this is the determining factor. If you will get at least a band score of 7 or 6.5. Why is that so? Most of the time, if you failed to achieve the task, there are examiners or there are checkers who would no longer consider the other criteria because for them it's no use. There's no point of checking the grammar, the spelling, even if how good your words are. If in the very first place we're not able to achieve the task, you're not even responsive to the question, then those things would be non-bearing. That's why we have to be careful with your task achievements. Task achievement in the writing task 2, even in your task 1, involves two things. Number 1, you should consider the time completion or the completion generally. So this includes you being able to finish the task for 40 minutes. That's the maximum. Although you can have it in 30 minutes, as early as by the 30th minute, but the 40 minutes should be the maximum. If you're going to exceed or go beyond the 40-minute time allotment for your task achievement, then there's a possibility that there's nothing more time or there's no more time for your task one. And probably it's already compromised. Okay. Maybe you can finish both tasks in 1 hour, but the other task has already been compromised. It is at the expense of your task one, probably. So please make sure that you follow the 40 minutes. That should be the most amount of time that you should be allotting for your writing task two. Another one for your task achievement is the completion. The response. Aside from being able to complete, you have to be responsive to your task. So if it says that you just need to discuss, then you just have to discuss. You don't need to give your opinion. But if it says that you have to give your relevant examples and knowledge, then you have to do so. So basically, when you say responsiveness, you're just going to hit the issue. You need to adjust what the question is requiring you, and you need to provide what is being asked from you. So that is your responsiveness. If you're off topic, then most likely you will get probably a 4.0, a 5, or 6. It's a maximum for your task achievement. And that's already a big pull down of your score. Okay. Next is your coherence and cohesion. This also is a very important criteria. So next to your TA, I consider this as a very delicate criterion. Okay, you have to make sure that your form, not just only the content, but the form itself is pleasing to the eyes of your examiner. That's why you have this criterion. Okay, the coherence and cohesion. So when I say coherence and cohesion, that is basically your transition from one sentence to another or from one paragraph to another. So you need to be able to emphasize the relationship, the connection between those different those different ideas within your paragraph, okay, or from your paragraph one to the next paragraph. So you should be able to use and memorize as early as now different linking devices like furthermore, although that's quite generic, but at least you have a linking device. Furthermore, moreover, in addition, in brief, in summary, nevertheless, nonetheless, however, meanwhile, first off. Okay, so those kind of things. You need to use that intentionally, but make sure that they are not overused because over style of your coherence or over style of your linking devices, then it will look mechanical. Okay, you're just forcing things. It doesn't look natural. Your writing, by the way, should be natural. It should not be forced. Okay. So the coherence and cohesion, aside from the usage of the linking devices, you need also to be able to have a good paragraph development. So what does that mean then? So when you say paragraph development, there are two things. One, there is what we call the intra paragraph development. Intra paragraph, which means within your paragraph. So that is your sentence to sentence, the transition from your sentence one to your sentence two down to the last sentence. But of course, you don't need to keep on using transitions every after sentence. You just need that whenever necessary, especially if there's a relationship between the sentences. Aside from your intra paragraph, there's also what we call the inter paragraph development. So that is your paragraph to paragraph. Okay, so you need to be able to identify, are these two paragraphs of the same tone? Is my paragraph 1 positive? Is my paragraph 2 positive still? Or is my paragraph 1 positive, but my paragraph 2 is negative? So by identifying the tone and the central theme of your paragraph, it will be much easier for you to know which transition you will be using. So that's it for the coherence and cohesion. But let me also emphasize this. For the coherence and cohesion, you need to be able to have a proper blocking. So for example, if you have 8 lines in your body paragraph 1, you need to have as well 8 to 9 lines in your body paragraph 2. So the disparity when it comes to the line difference should just be either 0, nothing, or 1. That's the ideal line difference. Because if your paragraph are unequal, if your body paragraphs are of an equal length, then there's a tendency that the examiner would think that the BP1, for example, has been over discussed, but the other body paragraph is under discussed. So you see, there's a disparity of discussion, and we don't want to give that kind of impression to your examiner. So again, the line difference only for your body paragraph. Okay, this is only for the body paragraph. This does not include your introduction and your conclusion. Only for the body paragraph or the detailed part. So for the body paragraph, make sure that there's a 0 to 1 line difference. And for every line, there should have at least 10 words per sentence. At least 10 words per sentence. And aside from that, you need to have a minimum of 2 body paragraphs and maximum of 3 body paragraphs. The 3 body paragraph is case to case. It depends to the question. There are questions that would not require a third body paragraph. Okay. But generally speaking, the minimum number of your body paragraph should just be 2 and the maximum is 3. There is no one body paragraph in IELTS. If you do that, then your TA, goodbye. Okay, your task achievement will most likely be affected. It will gravely be affected. So please don't commit that mistake. Okay, you have to make at least 2 body paragraphs. Okay. And for the third body paragraph, that's either optional or case to case. It depends to the questions. Okay, so that's for coherence and cohesion. Next, your lexical resource. and vocabulary. This is also advantages on your part. Most of the Filipinos are good in vocabulary. We have a good range of vocabulary. So I'm confident that you will get at least a 7 in this criterion. However, don't just settle for 7. Why settle for less when you can have more? So you need also to show off the range, and not just only the range, but the complexity of your word usage. So if you want to have good scores, you need to use collocations. So we are going to discuss that in our grammar classes, but you can research about it. Collocations, Collocations. You can also have phrasal verbs. And of course, your verbs, specific verbs. And I like to emphasize these ones. Please, please, please be intentional in using your topic specific words, and your simple but varied. It's totally fine for you to use simple words as long as they're not repetitive. So there's a difference. If you already use them repeatedly, then that's the time that okay, it's no longer advisable that you use them repeatedly. In fact, within the same paragraph, you should not use it twice. Okay. And that's the maximum number of repetition. 2 times. 3 times already chronic. That's already limited vocabulary. But 2 times is enough. It's okay. It's permissible as long as the word is not repeated within the same paragraph. So therefore, you can use the same word again, maybe in the other graphs already, in the other paragraphs. Okay. So please avoid repetitions of your vocabulary. And then lastly, you have your grammatical range and accuracy. So here in your grammatical range and accuracy, there are two things that you have to take into account, the range and accuracy. So the range is simply the complexity of your grammar, and the accuracy is the appropriacy, okay, of your grammar. So these are just very basic. The grammar ideally should be the highest among all, but most of the time it is also one of the lowest, just like the task achievement. Maybe because we are careless when it comes to spellings, when it comes to punctuations, when it comes to capitalization, and the basic grammar, subject verb agreement, the tenses, the prepositions. So these are just fundamental, but we still make fatal errors out of them. Okay. So please make sure that your grammar, at least, especially the basic ones, are accurate. Okay. And prioritize your accuracy more than your range. You need to be able to have a range and at the same time accuracy. But at times when you are confused if which one you're going to prioritize, you need to choose the latter. You have to choose the accuracy over the range. Okay, but ideally there should be range and accuracy. So that's how you will be graded by your examiner. The task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource and vocabulary, and then your grammatical range and accuracy. So each accounts to 25% of your total band score for the writing. Remember that your task 2 is 66.6% of your total band score. The task 1 is just 33.3%. Therefore, that's just half of that. During your examination, you have to write first your task 2. You need to consider the task 2 as the more important task because it has a greater bearing. It accounts to 66.6%, which is double as much as your task 1. It doesn't mean though that you're not going to write the task 1 because anyway, as long as your task 2 is okay, then there's no point of you writing the task 1. No, of course, you're not going to get a 7 for that. You need to finish both tasks. Okay, but when it comes to priority, you really have to prioritize your task one. Now let's proceed to the format of the question type. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, first and foremost, you have to know that this question type is absolute. Therefore, if you will be asked if you agree, you just need to agree all throughout. If you disagree, then you have to disagree all throughout. You cannot be neutral. You cannot sit on the fence and just play safe, having no stand at all. You need to make a stand. You have to be completely biased here. Okay, if you disagree, then you have to claim that all throughout. If you claim that you disagree or you agree, then you have to make sure that you are able to discuss why you have claimed so until the last body paragraph, down to your conclusion. So let's begin. First, you have to start with your introduction. Before you begin a paragraph or before you begin a written output or an essay, there's always an introduction, right? There's always an introduction. And in the IELTS,